Hi everybody and welcome to Español Uno, Chapter 1. I always like to spend some time with you talking about what to expect in the chapter, the things that you're going to see. So the title of this chapter is Hola, ¿qué tal? And during the course of our short video lecture here today, I'm going to be jumping back and forth between this PowerPoint as well as a couple of videos that I have for you, our syllabus, and our textbook. So I do want to show you here in your ebook. This is the final page of the chapter. Okay, and our chapters are broken up into part A and a part B, if you will. So this is chapter 1, part A on page 36 of your ebook, and it gives you all the vocabulary words that you're going to need to know. These are also available in flashcard format if you're the kind of person that likes flashcards. Those will be available for you there. So this is Chapter 1, Part 1. If you click the little down arrow here, it will take you to Chapter 1, Part 2. So you can see it says Vocabulario dos. So you have those. If there's ever a word that you are unsure of how to say, like this looks like it should be intelligent, but it's actually pronounced as
Inteligente.
Inteligente. If you can hear that, I'll turn that up a little bit for you.
Inteligente.
Inteligente. Okay, so you can hear those. Pelirrojo. Oh, click it again.
Pelirrojo.
Yeah, so you can hear all these things.
Pelirroja.
Oops, sorry. You can hear all these things said aloud. If you need help with your pronunciation, you can click on those and they'll always say them for you. So I'm going to kind of bounce back and forth between these, but a lot of you guys coming into this class probably already know some of the basics like hola, hello, gracias, thank you, ¿cómo estás, how are you, the informal way, or ¿cómo está usted, the more formal way of asking how are you. You may have heard buenos días, buenas tardes, or buenas noches, good morning, good afternoon, good night, or estoy bien, gracias, I'm fine, thank you. We're going to talk a little bit throughout today's lecture about why there's a difference in a formal how are you and an informal how are you. We're going to talk a little bit about some ways to introduce yourself, so on and so forth, some ways to say goodbye, but those are all here for you, so you have those. As we go back to the PowerPoint, you can see a series of people here, and you see both of these young people. They look like estudiantes, they look like students. You have el estudiante, the male student here, and la estudiante, the female student over here. So with her little thought bubble, what do you think she might be saying to him? Give you a second to think about it. Maybe you're saying something like hola or buenos dias, hello, good morning. He could say back, hola, ¿cómo estás? Now, he would probably say back, how are you, ¿cómo estás? Informally, because they're about the same age. They're classmates, they're peers. He might say, ¿qué tal? What's up? He's probably not going to give her a super formal greeting. Okay, but over here in this pairing, when you see this estudiante and el profesor, the teacher or the professor, she's probably going to start with hola, ¿cómo está usted? Not ¿cómo estás? So there's different ways of showing respect in Spanish culture. Here in the US, we just have you, Y-O-U, how are you? Whether you're talking to a friend or your professor or the president of the United States, you say, how are you? And it still is communicated in the same way. Whereas in Spanish, there's different ways to say you. So I'm actually going to skip down really quickly to teach you about your subject pronouns in Spanish. And this is one of the most important things you will learn. And I always organize them in box format. But before we do that, let's just go through some of these basics. So you have yo. Yo means I. We have two ways to say you, as I was saying before. We have tú, which is the familiar or the informal way of saying tú. And then we have usted, which is the more formal way of saying you. So again, when we're asking our professors or our people who are older than us, people we want to show respect to, we're going to say ¿cómo está usted? And not ¿cómo estás? Okay. You have él, which means he, ella, which means she. You have nosotros, which means we. And typically in Spanish, things are always masculine or feminine. So if it ends in an O, it's masculine. If it ends in an A, it's feminine. So notice ella she, one female. It ends in a, ella. If you add an S, it becomes plural. So you have nosotros, we, plural. Usually can consist of only men, or it can consist of men and women. And you have nosotras, we feminine, which is a group of only females saying we. So nosotros, we masculine, or masculine and feminine, and then nosotras, we only feminine. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we get closer to needing to know that. You also have a group that means you all, only used in Spain, and that is vosotros. So again, vosotros is a group of men and women, whereas vosotras, with just the as here, would be a group of only women to whom you're saying, hey, you all or you guys, y'all, we might say in the South. You have a universal term, ustedes, which means you all. It can be more formal, and it's usually understood universally in every Spanish-speaking country other than Spain, where you will not hear ustedes, you will hear vosotros. And then finally at the end, you hear ellos, they masculine, or ellas, they feminine. Notice again there's that OS and AS thing that we noticed from earlier. So OS, a group of multiple men, or it can be a mixed gender group. In Spanish, if you have at least one guy, whatever you're talking about always defaults to the masculine. So you can have a group of 27 women and one guy, and they're still going to say ellos, they. But if you have all men, it's still ellos, or if you have all women, we say ellas. And we'll talk a little more about those, but I wanted to give you an introduction to the subject pronouns. So as we go back up to the beginning here, you can see your basic introductions with these folks, and all of that terminology is available for you in your textbook here for you. So you can see all those important terms. Really quickly, I have a short little video that I want to show you about introductions in Spanish. These are very important, and Senor Jordan is going to tell you a few things here about some introductions that I want you to hear.
So, let's go over some basic conversational phrases in Spanish. In this video, we'll talk about how to greet people and how to say goodbye. So first, some greetings. Hola. Hola. You could also ask somebody, what's up? ¿Qué tal? ¿Qué tal? And you'll notice again you have accent marks which show where the stress falls on a word. And you'll also notice upside down question marks at the beginning of questions. You could also greet somebody a little bit more formally, and you could just say, depending on the time of day, buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches. Again, that was buenos días, buenas tardes, or buenas noches, depending on the time of day. And some ways to say goodbye, you could say adiós, adiós, or hasta luego, hasta luego. Something else you might commonly come across is that a polite way to leave a conversation or a group is that you could say to somebody, con permiso, con permiso. So if the conversation's ended and you're kind of in that awkward place, you could just say to somebody, con permiso, as if to say, okay, well, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to leave now. And you could also say the phrase, ya me voy, ya me voy. And this is something you might come across pretty often, that people just might announce that they're leaving. And they'll just say, ya me voy. And like we would say, gotta go. Another way to say goodbye to somebody would be, nos vemos, nos vemos. And that just means we will see each other, or see you later. It's kind of an idea. You could tell somebody to take care, and you could say, cuídate, cuídate. Or if you wanted to be the formal and polite to the person, you could say, cuídese, cuídese. And you will notice that in Spanish, there is a way of saying something to people you know, and there's also a way of saying things to people that you don't know or that you want to show extra respect to. Well, that's it for this video lesson on greetings and farewells in Spanish.
Okay, so that gives you a little idea of some basic Spanish greetings. Again, all of this vocabulary is available for you here in your book. That's why we have the interactive flashcards. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on vocab because that's something you can kind of study and learn on your own. But I do want you to know where to find it. Again, pages 36 and 37 for Chapter 1 in your book. Those are all available for you to study at your leisure. Okay, so in some of your quizzes this week, you may be asked to respond to things like I may say, hola, and I expect you to say back, and you get to choose. You could say back to hello, hola, buenos dias if it's good morning, buenas tardes if you're trying to say good afternoon. You could say back, ¿cómo estás if you're talking to a friend, or ¿cómo está usted? ¿Qué pasa? Another way of saying what's up, ¿qué pasa? You could say back, oh, no pasa nada. Nothing much. Not much is up. No pasa nada. I could ask you, ¿cómo estás? How are you? And you could say back, muy bien, excelente, terrible, mal, así, así. Lots of different explanations. All those are basic vocab in your book. Hasta luego, see you later. And you could say back, oh, nos vemos, like we just saw in our video. So lots of cool things there. You have some vocabulary on classroom items and parts in a class. So the phrase here at the top, ¿qué hay en la clase? What is there in the class? ¿Qué hay en la clase? You can see lots of things. You see here a flag, la bandera. You see a clock, el reloj. A door, la puerta. A student, el estudiante. This dude here has on a backpack, la mochila. You see books over here, libros. You can have a pencil, el lápiz. Pencils, los lápices. You can have a boy, el chico. A man, el hombre. A girl, la chica. A woman, la mujer. This woman might also be a professor, la profesora. Or if she was a male professor, el profesor. We have that looks like a television to me, la televisión. You have a student desk, el pupitre, and a teacher desk, el escritorio. A board, la pizarra, or el pizarrón, depending on where you're from. A pen, la pluma. The word for pen is different based on the country you're in. Some countries say la pluma, others say el bolígrafo. You also hear the term lapicero in some cases, so lots of options. Over here you see the window, la ventana, a map, el mapa. So lots of cool stuff available here in this photo. I know that can be very overwhelming to hear all those terms at once, so that's why you have a vocab sheet to study and familiarize yourself with these terms. We did talk about this a little bit. There are two ways to say you in Spanish. Again, you have tú, the informal way of saying you, and you have usted, the more formal way. You use tú typically between your friends and your family. You use usted with people to whom you want to show respect, sometimes just acquaintances, teachers. So we've already talked about that. Careful with your pronunciation of a few of these words. You have the word I. This is not hey. I always have students that want to say hey. It looks like hey. But remember, horses say hey. This is I, H-A-Y. The H is silent in Spanish. That's why we don't say hola. We say hola. So same thing. We don't say hi. We say I. I means there is or there are. So I... Dos chicos en la sala de clase. There's two boys in the classroom. Or I, dos lápices aquí. There are two pencils here. I, there is or there are. You have el reloj. El reloj. So the J is almost silent there in a sense. El reloj. Okay, a clock. El reloj. You have la silla, the chair, la silla. And these are all sounded out for you here, la silla. So basic pronunciation. You'll have some activities this week where I ask you to indicate certain things. The title of this activity is En la mochila, in the backpack. So I'm asking you what items might go into a student's backpack. So this is where you use your vocab sheet and you get to memorize these words. So number 7, la puerta, a door. I don't think a door can go into a backpack, so that's probably not going to work. Or la silla, a chair. Probably not going to work. But papel, paper, yeah, that can go in a backpack. Or lápices, pencils, yeah, that can go into a backpack. So this is where you're going to go and look up these words. It's important that you're practicing your pronunciation as you go. That's why you have that little tool where you can pick on these. But let's say you see the word cuaderno and you just, for the life of you, cannot determine what cuaderno means. That's okay. Hop on over here to your handy-dandy vocab sheet. Look over classroom items. You find cuaderno, click on it.
El cuaderno.
Cuaderno.
El cuaderno.
El cuaderno. You can practice it 10 times.
El cuaderno.
El cuaderno until you know how to say it and you know that it means notebook. You have el diccionario, dictionary. All these terms are written here for you, so you can always access those at any point on your handy-dandy vocab sheet. Now, one of the things, my favorite thing to talk about in Spanish is el alfabeto, also termed el abecedario. So you'll see the term alfabeto. You'll also see el abecedario. Okay. Now notice A, B, C sounds a lot like ABC. El abecedario or el alfabeto is the alphabet. And you have all of these letters. You have A, B, B, C, C. There's also another letter in between C and D called che, C-H. Che is its own letter in Spanish. So A, B, C, che, D, D, E, I, F, F. So I could go through and tell you how to say all of these things. You see the letter here to the left, and you see its pronunciation in Spanish to the right. Rather than going through in a methodical fashion and just saying A, B, C, Che, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, N, Y, and going through all these letters, I have a song for you that I think is often helpful as you memorize these. And I might ask you in one of your questions this week on your homework to spell your name. ¿Cómo se escribe tu nombre? And if you're spelling my name, you're spelling Matthew. M-A-T-T-H-E-W. I might ask you to go through and spell it. Before you can do that, you need to know how to pronounce every individual letter. And just like in English, you learned how to pronounce letters before you pronounce words, and words before you went to sentences, and sentences before you went to paragraphs. It's kind of like baby steps. So we're going to start with your alphabet. And I want you to be able to hear some of these read aloud. So it's going to say it once, and it's going to give you a chance to repeat it back. So let's practice together.
A-B-C-G-D-E-F-E, A-B-C-G-D-E-F.
So you got A through F there. A, B, C, Ch, D, E, F. So A through F, including that special CH.
H-I-J-I-J-K, H-I-J-I-J-K, L-E, L-E, E-Y, E-Y, N-E, N-E, N-Y, O-P, Q-R-R-S-T, Q-R-R-S-T, W-X, W-X, Y, Z, Z, yo sé el alfabeto. ¡Olé!
All right, so I want you now to practice with me. So it's going to say it once. I want you to repeat it back with me. We'll get an opportunity to go through a few of these letters together.
A, B, C, G, D, E, F, E.
A, B, C, Ch, D, E, F.
B, C, G, D, E, F, E. H-I-J-I-J-K,
H, H-I-J-K,
H-I-J-K, L, L, E-Y, E-Y,
M-A-N-A-N-Y, O-P.
N-E-N-E-N-Y, O-P, Q-R-R-S-T, Q-R-R-S-T, W-X, W-X, Y, Y, Z, Z, yo sé el alfabeto. ¡Olé!
All right, so this video will be available for you in the content section of D2L if you want to go through and listen, but it continues on. It speeds up the pace. It makes you go through and pronounce them multiple times. This is a really helpful resource before you do that speaking activity with the alphabet for you to go through and actually practice your alphabet and all the letters. So you have those. So A, B, C, Ch, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, N, Y, O, P, Q, R, and there's a double R, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. So you have all those letters. So at some point I'm going to ask you to spell out a whole word. So in this case we have the country of Chile, Chile in English, so Chile. If you wanted to spell this out, you would say Che, I, L, E, or maybe C-H-I-L-E, but Che, I, L, E, or Cuba, Cuba. So you can spell each of these letters out. So C, U, B, A. Or España, Spain, E, S, P, A, N, A. You can go through and spell out each of these. Okay? Now, you probably learned at some point in your life that a noun, a person, place, or a thing, you learned about those in English. Well, we have those in Spanish as well. Typically, you need to make nouns plural. So you have a pizza. We want to say pizzas. Just like in English, you add an S in a lot of cases. Or sometimes you have to add ES. Okay? So the rule in Spanish, if a noun ends in a vowel, remember that a vowel is any word that ends in A, E, I, O, or U. A vowel can be pluralized by adding an S. If a word ends in a consonant, any word that does not end in A, E, I, O, or U, to make it plural in Spanish, you need to add ES. So, an example, if we have a word like, let's say, la pizza, P-I-Z-Z-A, to make that plural, I'm going to add an S. Let's say you have the word oso, bear, O-S-O. To make it plural, you're going to add an S, osos, O-S-O-S, because it ended in a vowel. But you have a word that does not end a vowel, like let's say you have a clock, a reloj, R-E-L-O-J. A J is not a vowel. Reloj, you're going to need to add an ES, so you get relojes, R-E-L-O-J-E-S. Okay? Or maybe you have a crazy word, like one that ends in a Z. So when I was talking about pencil earlier, we had a lápiz, which ended in a Z. To make it plural, to have pencils, you can't have lápices. In this case, your Z changes to a C. You get lápices. Lápices. So let's go back one more time. Let's say you have a pluma, a pen. How about I make this plural? Hopefully you're saying, well, it ends in a vowel, so I'm going to add an S. I'm going to get plumas, in which case you would be right. Let's say I have an estudiante, a student. Oop, I cheated. Estudiante, a student. To make it plural, it ends in a vowel. I'm going to add an S. I get estudiantes. Okay. Let's say that you have another word. Let's pick one from your vocab sheet that might be a little more challenging. So let's say you have el televisor, the television set. El televisor. To make it plural, it doesn't end in a vowel, it doesn't end in an A, I, or U. So el televisor, to become plural, is going to become los televisores. Televisores, so you add an ES. Okay, so remember your rules. If it ends in a vowel, add an S. If it ends in anything other than a vowel, a consonant, you're going to add ES, unless it ends in a Z, in which case that Z is going to change to a C, then you're going to add ES. Okay. Typically in Spanish, words that end in an O are masculine. So for example, libro ends in an O, so it's a masculine word. Now, does that mean, a libro is a book? Does that mean that only guys carry books? No. Okay, just the word in general is masculine. You also have another word. Words that end in A are typically feminine. So you have la pizarra, the board. Does that mean that only girls write on the board? No, guys can write on the board too, right? So just the word pizarra is feminine because it ends in an A. The word libro, book, is masculine because it ends in an O. You have some weird ones that don't follow this rule. So el problema is a problem. Do only girls have problems? No, guys have problems too. You would think that because this ends in an A, you would say la problema, which would normally follow the rule. feminine and a, right? But in this case, that does not work. It's el problema. This is an irregular. Something with dia, day. You would think it would be la dia because it ends in an a, but it's not. It's el dia. So these are some irregulars. Guys, the only thing you can do with these is memorize. So el dia, el mapa, el problema, la mano, la foto. Which are a little bit weird. You just have to memorize these. Okay, let's try a few of these out. Saludo, a greeting. Would it be el saludo or la saludo? Hopefully you're telling me, well, Mr. Harrison, this ends in an O, so it's going to be el saludo. What about cafeteria? Masculine or feminine, el or la? Well, it ends in an A, so hopefully you're telling me la cafeteria, feminine, la cafeteria. Okay, but then you get a weird one like mano. Mano, a hand. Oh, you would think it ends in an O. It's going to be el mano, but if you look back, remember this is one of our irregulars, it's la mano. What about a supervisora, a supervisor? Masculine or feminine? Well, it ends in an A, so it's going to be feminine. It should be la supervisora. Okay. One of the other things you're going to learn about today are your numbers. So from 0 through 20, we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So these are 0 through 10. A lot of you guys probably already knew those, especially if you played the card game Uno growing up, or my students in the classroom now tell me that there's a game called Dos, which I'm still investigating, but for now, 0 through 10. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, you also have 11 through 20. So 11 is not uno, uno, unfortunately. It is once. 12 is doce. 13, trece. 14, catorce. 15, quince. 16 through 19 are fun. So I always like to help students out with this one. So 16 in Spanish is pronounced 16. You know that 10 means 10. The word y, also pronounced as E in Spanish, so 16 is literally 10 and 6, or 16. 16, 16. You also have 17, 17. So again, 10 and 7, 17, 17. You can have 18, 18, 10 and 8, or 19, 19, 10 and 9. So you can see these written with either an I or a Y for the and sign. Typically, I always learned in school to use the Y, so I like the 16, as I have it written here to the right. I prefer that personally, but both of these things are perfectly cool. You can say 16 or 16. They're pronounced exactly the same. Sometimes just written as either one letter, one word, or two. So it just depends on how you write this out. So take a moment, look over these really fast, spend some time looking those over for me, please. Okay, also realized I needed to plug in my MacBook here as it's getting ready to die. So there we go. Okay, hopefully you spent some time with those. So look at these, some sample problems of what you might see this week. So you see 2, 4, and 8. Well, if you're, one of the easiest things to do is just, if you're working on an actual paper or on a board, take a moment and write out what these mean underneath. So 2 is 2, 4 is 4. Oh, there's a break, and 8 is 8. So 2, 4, and what's between these? Oh gosh, we're going by 2. So 2, 4, oh, this should be 6. 6 in Spanish is 6. What about this one? We have uno. You know that uno is 1. Siete, what's that? Oh, that's 7. 10 is 10. So what are we going by here? Gosh, I don't know. We have 1, we have 7, we have 10. So you can go through and figure out what all of these are going to be. So 2, 4, 8. You can go through and see. We're multiplying by 2. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. So 2, 4, 8. 8 times 2 is going to be 16. So you can get either 16, or you can write it with the I. 16. Okay. So either way, perfectly acceptable there. Okay. I sort of alluded to this without meaning to earlier. In Spanish, we have what are called definite and indefinite articles. your definite articles are your 4 ways to say the in Spanish. And again, we already said that all nouns are either masculine or feminine. So your 2 ways to say the in the feminine, in the singular form, you have el and la. El is masculine singular, la is feminine singular. Los would be masculine plural, and las would be feminine plural. So as you look at some examples with these, they typically match up with the noun in gender and number. Okay, so I'm just going to clear this out for a second. Let's say I gave you something like oso, and then I gave you osos, and I gave you pizza, and I gave you pizzas. Okay, well, you know that oso ends in an O. Is that masculine or feminine? We talked about before, words ending in an O are usually masculine. Well, is it singular or plural? It doesn't have an S on it, so it's singular. So for a word that's masculine and singular, I should use el. So there's one bear here, el oso. But in this case, there are multiple osos. I know that it's plural because, again, it has an S, just like in English. So one bear, el oso. Multiple bears should be los osos, because, again, masculine and plural. But over here with pizza, it ends in an A. How many pizzas are there? Only one. So it's feminine, it ends in an A. It's singular. For feminine singular, I should use la. But when I want to make la, didn't mean to make that capital, sorry. When I want to make la pizza plural, I need to say las pizzas. So notice, this ends in an A, that ends in an A. I'm struggling here with my computer. This ends in an A, that ends in an A. This ends in AS, that ends in AS. You can kind of go through, if you're not technologically illiterate like I am. Okay, I give up. And you can match those. So la pizza ends in an A, ends in an A. Las pizzas, AS, AS. Los osos, OS, and OS. You can kind of go through and match all those up. Okay, so our definite articles are 4 ways to say the el, la, los, and las. We have some indefinite articles. This is how we say a or an, and also some. So you have un and una that both mean a or an, and you have unos or unas that both mean some. So let's go back to our example with oso and osos, and pizza and pizzas. So again, how many pizzas are here? Only one. Feminine or masculine? Well, Mr. Harrison, it ends in an A. It's going to be feminine. So for singular feminine, instead of saying the pizza, which would be my definite article, la pizza, this is, I want to say a pizza, in which case I would say una pizza. Una pizza. So it's singular and it's feminine. Well, Mr. Harrison, how many pizzas are down here? Oh, there's more than one and ends in an S. So if instead of saying the pizzas, I want to say some pizzas. Again, ends in an A, so it's feminine. Ends in an S, so it's feminine plural. So I'm going to say unas pizzas. Again, you can cheat a little bit. This ends in AS, that ends in AS. This ends in A, that ends in A. What about oso? If I want to say a bear, there's only one. It's masculine, un oso. But this one ends in OS. There's multiple bears. What am I going to say? Hopefully you're guessing unos. Okay, again, OS and OS. So a bear, some bears. A pizza, some pizzas. So hopefully that's pretty clear for you. Okay, we talked about those. You also have your numbers from 20 through 100 in this chapter. So just to give you an overview of those, 20 by itself is 20. If you want to say 21, you know that and in Spanish is y, and one is uno. So you can say 21, where they've abbreviated it here with the I, 21, all one word. Okay, 22, 22, 20 and 2, or they shortened it 22. It's whichever one floats your boat. I like it written out in multiple words, but this textbook puts it in one, and that's perfectly fine as well. 23 again, 23, 23, 20 and 3, or 23, 23. So, 20, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. You can go on and on and on. Now that you know this trick with the little y, you can really write any number that you want in Spanish. So, 20 was 20, 30 we have 30, 40, 40, 50, 50, 60, 60, 70, 70. Be real careful with those two. 60 with an S, 60. 70 with a T, 70. 80, 80. 90, 90. And 100, 100. So as you go through, let's say I want to say 66. Well, what's the word for, well, if I want to break this up, 66 would be 60 and 6, right? So 60 in Spanish, we said was, down here, sesenta. And in Spanish is, good, you remember E, and then 6 is seis. So sesenta y seis, 66. Let's pick another number. What if I want to say 94? This would be 90 and 4. 90 in Spanish, we look down here, is noventa, and is E, and then 4 is cuatro. So, the reason I like the Y better, the whole I thing only works if you're talking about numbers 16 through 19. That's when you can make it one word instead of doing the Y. You can put the I, dieciséis. And it also works with numbers 21 through 29. That's the only time when you can do the Y. You can't come up and say 94. It just doesn't work like that. You have to have 94. So by default, I like doing the Y thing, but your book, on your activities this week, you must use the I from 16 through 19, and for 21 through 29, you must use the I just as it is written here. Everywhere else, you may use the Y. 31, 32. Okay, otherwise your book will count it wrong. So please make sure you keep that in mind. Okay, so we talked about numbers and alphabet and our subjects. It gives you some practice here. So you're going to see some math problems like this week as you're working on these. So you have 24 and you have 40. So 24 we know is 20, 20, y and 4, 4, 24. And 40, which we know is 40. 24 and 40 should give us 64, which is 64. Okay, so you can go through and do the math on all of these this week in your problems. All right, just a little bit more activity. So it might ask you, gosh, how many students are there in this class? Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So to say there's or there are from earlier, I say I. To say 5, I say cinco. And to say students, I say estudiantes. So hay 5 estudiantes. How many windows are there? Windows are ventanas. Well, if you count, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So to say there's or there are, I'm going to say I. To say 4, I'm going to say cuatro. To say windows, I'm going to say ventanas. Okay. You may encounter some words, and you may hear me say this in some of our lectures, talking about cognates. A cognate is any word that looks alike in two languages. So in this case, you have the word paciente, which looks a lot like patient, and it happens to also mean patient. Cognates can really help you identify your vocabulary a little bit more quickly. Okay, so for example, if I hop on over here to your next page just for a moment, you see some words like atlético. Looks just
Atlético.
Atlético looks,
Atlética.
there you go, looks just like athletic. So a guy who's athletic, one guy, atlético. Remember, it ends in an O. It's masculine and it's singular. So I could say that David is atlético. He's athletic. If I have two guys who are athletic, I can say Matthew y David. Matthew and David son atléticos. They are athletic with an OS on the end because it's masculine plural, like we were talking about earlier. If I want to say that Lindsay is athletic, Lindsay is a girl, Lindsay is atlética with an A. But Lindsay and Lauren are athletic. Lindsay and Lauren are atléticas with an AS. Okay, so pretty easy to identify there. There's a lot of cognates in this chapter. Those look alike. So we have optimista, optimist, liberal, liberal, interesante, interesting, conservador, conservative, famoso, famous, generoso, generous, honesto, remember the H is silent, honesto, honest. So lots of cool words there. Okay, so those are available for you here to study this week. Okay, be careful with some pronunciation. This is not bajo, okay, this is bajo, bajo. This is not Generoso, this is generoso, so be careful, generoso. And any of these little hard to pronounce words, I've always given you some little keys over here to the right as to how to say those, so that should make your life a little bit easier there. As you're describing people this week, you can use that vocab that is on the right hand second page there, page 37. You see lots of words like you have calvo, bald, delgado, thin. So if I look back at my picture and let's say in your activity I tell you have to describe one person, well, when you look back here I can say, oh, ese señor, let's say his name is John. Oh, John es calvo, he's bald, muy calvo, very bald, okay? And this dog is big. Okay, big in Spanish is grande. So el perro, the dog, is grande, muy grande. This guy's old. The word for old is viejo. This guy is, let's say he's young. The word for young is joven. Or you might have, you could say he's skinny too. Delgado. So you have lots of different words. This guy's muscular, musculoso. Okay, so you have lots of different words and phrases that you can use. And those are all in your chapter available for you there on the vocab sheet. I want to go ahead and move on to something different that you're going to need to know this week. And I'm changing gears on you fast here, so remember you can always go back and listen to these videos at any time if you need to. But one of the things that is actually listed on your very, very first page of vocabulary, and give me just a second, I've lost my book page here. Sorry guys. Aha, here it is. On your first page of book vocabulary there on page 36 at the bottom, you have some question words like donde, where, cuando, when, por qué, why, and all these words are here. So you can memorize them, but I find that these words are always super, super difficult for students to memorize, so I like to give you a little song to help you out with these. So take a moment and listen to this song. Oh, by the way, it's to the tune of Jingle Bells. So I know we're in June now, but you can never have too much Christmas in your life. So here's some Jingle Bells.
To where, which clouds, which ones, a qué hora, at what time, vamos a comer, at donde to where.
So you'll notice it says it once in Spanish and then once in English. So a donde means to where.
Which clouds, which ones, a qué hora, at what time, vamos a comer. Hey, por qué, why, cuando, when, qué, what, donde, where. Cuánto, how much, cómo, how, quién, means who is there. Hey, por qué, why, cuándo, when, qué, what, dónde, where. Cuánto, how much, cómo, how, quién, means who is there.
So that will repeat many times for you, but the most repetitive part is this very last screen.
Hey, por qué, why, cuándo, when, qué, what, dónde, where. Cuánto, how much, cómo, how, quién, means who is there. Hey, por qué, why, cuándo, when, qué, what, dónde, where. Cuánto, how much, cómo, how, quién, means who is there.
So you have all of those words. Feel free to take a screenshot of that and study those. Sometimes this song just helps people to get it kind of stuck in your head. I know in a really short class like this, sometimes these songs are very helpful. So that's there for you. There'll be links to all of those this week in the content section if you need those, but thought it might help you a little bit. Okay, so as we keep going, one of the activities you might have to do this week is to describe a certain person, okay? So I might ask you to describe an estudiante, a student. You could say that a student is, and as you look at your list of words for this week on your adjectives on the second page here on page 37, you can see all kinds of adjectives. So a student, I'm going to say a student is muy pobre. Lots of students are very poor, right? We all work hard and we're trying to pay for college and all those fun things. So pobre, poor. Students are poor. You might know a student who is muy optimista, very optimistic, or maybe you know a student who's trabajador, hardworking, or maybe you know a student who is sociable. So you can go through and describe each of these things. Okay, we've already talked about your subjects again, but I feel like this is worth kind of reiterating for you just a little bit. So yo means I. There's two ways to say you. Tú, the informal way, and usted, the formal way. We have he and she, él and ella. You know that ella is feminine because it ends in an A. Nosotros, we, masculine. Nosotras, we, feminine. Vosotros in Spain, you all. Vosotras in Spain, you all, feminine. And then ustedes, you all, used formally throughout most Spanish-speaking countries everywhere other than Spain. And then ellos, they, masculine, and ellas, they, feminine. So you have all those. We've talked about tú and usted a lot, so I'm not going to spend a bunch more time on that. Now, as you get into this week and you have to start creating sentences, there's one verb in Spanish that means to be. There's actually more than one verb, but for now we're going to start with this one. Ser means to be. And as you take ser and conjugate it, you're going to put it in with all those subjects we were just learning. So you have yo, which means I. As you take ser, and you have to you have to do what we call conjugating of the verb. Okay, so you're going to take ser and you're going to conjugate it to become soy, eres, es, somos, sois, and son. Now, this box, what you see, all of these words, yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, vosotros, and ellos, ellas, ustedes, it's probably the most important part of Spanish. So that's why I keep reiterating it. If you can understand what these 10 words here mean, you're going to have no trouble throughout the rest of the course. So again, yo is I, tú is you, él is he, ella, she, usted, you formal, nosotros, we, vosotros, you all in Spain, ellos, they masculine, ellas, they feminine, and ustedes, you all. So when we take ser to be, I don't say I to be, you to be, he to be. I say I am, yo soy. You are, tú eres. He or she is, él, ella, usted es. We are, nosotros somos. You all, plural, are, vosotros sois. And they are, or you all are, ellos, ellas, ustedes son. So it's not like English where there's just is and are. You have to take ser to be, and it becomes soy, eres, es, somos, sois, or son, depending on who you're talking about. So if I wanted to say I am tall, yo soy alto. If I want to say that you are tall, tú eres alto if you're a guy, or if you're a girl, tú eres alta. Okay? So you can go through and match those up. Which ser word would I use with Pablo and Mario to say they are? Well, think about it. Pablo and Mario would be they. My they box is over here. So I'm going to say Pablo and Mario are son. If I want to say Pablo and Mario are tall, there's two people here, Pablo and Mario. There's more than one of them. So I can't just say that Pablo, I'm going to delete this for a second. I can't just say that Pablo y Mario son alto because there's more than one of them. So I have to say Pablo and Mario son altos. Okay, Pablo y Mario son altos, more than one. But if I want to say that Lindsay y Lauren, they are, again, my they word is ellos, or in this case there's two girls, so ellas son, would be my ser word that goes with it. So Lindsay y Lauren son, I can't say altos because they're two girls, so I would have to say altas. Okay, if I want to say that Garrett y yo, he and I are, well, Garrett and I would be I, you, he, she, we, y'all, or they. It's going to be we. Garrett and I is we. So the ser word's going to be somos, Garrett y yo somos. And if I want to say we're tall, we're both guys, I'm going to say altos. So be real careful with making those agree this week. That can be kind of important. You will have some activities this week where you have to take them and pair them up. So let's practice. Yo blank. What ser word goes with yo? Well, if you've forgotten, look back. Yo and soy go together. So for number one, I'm going to say yo. Your answer should be C. Yo soy Optimista. Rafael and Carlos. Would Rafael and Carlos be I, you, he, she, we, or they? Good. Rafael and Carlos would be they. They box is here. Ellos, ellas, ustedes. My word should be son. So as I look back here, Rafael and Carlos, oh look, son guapos. They're good looking. Son guapos should be E. Okay, so you can go through and match these up accordingly. I've kind of already alluded to this, but I'll give you a little more time talking about how these adjectives have to agree. So if you're talking about one guy, my noun or my adjective should end in an O. If you're talking about one girl, it should end in an A. If you have two guys, OS, or two girls, AS. So one guy who's tall, alto. One girl who's tall, alta. Two guys who are tall, altos. Two girls who are tall, altas. Now, what if you have an adjective like trabajador that doesn't end in an A or an O? Well, in this case, trabajador is the default masculine. It already means hardworking masculine. If I want to make it feminine, if I have a hardworking woman, she would be trabajadora. You just add an A. But if I have multiple hardworking men, I take trabajador and I need to add an ES to make it plural. Because remember, if it ends in a vowel, I add just an S. If it ends in a consonant, I add ES. So trabajador, masculine singular. To make it plural, I need to add ES. So the guys are trabajadores. There's multiple guys. One guy is trabajador. One girl is trabajadora. Multiple girls, remember, it ends in a vowel, so to make it plural, multiple girls are trabajadoras. Okay, that's how you go through and work those out. So let's practice a little bit. The professor, notice it's a male professor. If it was a female professor, it would be la profesora. So the male professor is short, el profesor es bajo, but the female professor, la profesora, she's alta. So el profesor, masculine singular, bajo, masculine singular. The professor, feminine singular, is alta, feminine singular. So notice, your nouns must agree in gender and number. So in gender, masculine, masculine. In number, one professor does not have an S, it's just singular. But los niños, the children, they are, notice there's that ser word again. We didn't say the children to be, we said they. Children are they. We went to our they box and we found son. So the children are intelligent. I couldn't just say inteligente and simpático because there's more than one child. So they are inteligentes. Has to agree in gender and number. Los niños, there's more than one. They can't just be one nice child. There are multiple nice children, so it becomes simpáticos. You've got to make it agree in gender and number. Notice, mis amigas. You probably heard of your amigos or your amigas before. Amigas are female friends. There's more than one friend here, so instead of just being trabajadora, it's trabajadoras. So again, you can cheat. Amigas, trabajadoras, they're hardworking, and they are honestas. So it ends in AS, AS, AS. Amigas, trabajadoras, honestas. Niños, simpáticos. Okay, you can use that to cheat. Profesora, alta. So if you're talking about one guy, should end in an O. One girl should end in an A. Two guys, or a mixed group, should end in OS. Two girls should end in AS. Okay, hopefully that helps for you here. This gives you some practice to compare on your own. So I am, yo soy. You can describe something about yourself. So I'm going to say yo soy simpático. Okay, or yo soy honesto. El profesor de español es muy guapo, or es muy alto, or es muy feo, or muy gordo. In any case, that should say gordo. In any case, there's only one professor, he, that would be me, gordo, okay, fat, and masculine singular. So el profesor es muy gordo, or es muy alto, whatever you want to say. Okay, that's how those work. And this is just a review here at the end. So guys, I know I threw a lot of information at you. I will have multiple videos posted that you can use to go over all of these things. And again, make sure you're doing the flashcards with your vocab, listen to the video, watch the little review videos that I'm posting as well. You should be perfectly fine. If at any point you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to help. This week on the syllabus, you can see you have you've been tasked with your flashcards and self-test and practicing. You've been tasked with these green activities in the textbook, these blue activities in the workbook, and then you have the red quizzes and exams. All of this can be found in iLearn for you. Also, please don't forget to introduce yourself in the D2L discussion forum. And of course, please buy the textbook. That's very important. If you have any questions, let me know. I will be here, and I hope everybody has a great week.